Minions are creatures who lived underwater long before humans existed on Earth. Although they are all different, they share one common goal: to serve the most evil, despicable person they can find and make him their leader. They call this leader their Big Boss. When their chosen Big Boss gets killed by someone else, they make that person their new Big Boss. And if that one gets eaten or killed, they move on to the next. This is how the Minions, who once lived underwater, eventually made their way to land. As soon as they arrived on land, they made a dinosaur their Big Boss. One of the things they love most is bananas. While they were serving the dinosaur, they accidentally caused a landslide, and as a result, the dinosaur fell into a volcano and died. After that, they found a man from the Stone Age and made him their Big Boss. However, when that man encountered a bear one day, he grabbed a big stick to hit the bear, but the Minions gave him a spoon instead, telling him not to use violence. So, he hit the bear with the spoon instead. That's where the man's story ends. Next, the Minions traveled to Egypt. However, they messed up the design of the pyramids, flipping them upside down and causing massive destruction there as well. Then, they went to serve Dracula, but while celebrating his birthday, they accidentally exposed him to sunlight, which turned him to ashes. Finally, they ended up joining Napoleon's army, but after causing chaos with their clumsiness during a battle, the entire army chased after them. Now, with no direction or purpose, the Minions eventually found an ice cave and decided to live there, creating their own civilization. Years passed, and they built a whole society inside the cave. However, without a big boss to serve, they were all feeling lost and miserable. Fearing they would fade into nothingness, one of the Minions named Kevin came up with a plan. He decided to leave the cave and find a new big boss to lead them. He shared his idea with the others, but only a small minion named Bob volunteered to help. However, Kevin needed someone strong, and at that moment, another minion named Stuart, who was half asleep, raised his hand by accident. Stuart thought Kevin was asking for someone to sing, not realizing he was volunteering for the journey. With no other volunteers, Kevin, Bob, and Stuart set out on their adventure. Kevin was full of pride, as he was on a mission to save his team. Stuart, however, was hungry and ate a banana, while Bob, though excited about the journey, was starting to feel scared. The three of them began their long journey, which turned out to be much farther than they had expected. At one point, they even had to travel by boat. Stuart, who was still hungry, started seeing the others as bananas and tried to eat them. But soon, a large ship approached, and the Minions realized they had arrived in New York City. Once in New York, they found clothes to wear but ended up with tiny blue overalls. As they wandered around the city, Stuart spotted a guitar in a shop window and wished he had one. Meanwhile, Bob got mistaken for a package and was almost loaded into a taxi. However, the driver soon realized the mistake and threw him out. Eventually, they all reunited in a shopping mall. As night fell, the Minions settled down in the store and turned on a TV. Suddenly, a secret channel appeared, broadcasting the Villain Network. The channel warned that if anyone revealed its location, they would be destroyed. The network was hosting its annual gathering of the world's most notorious villains, and the headline event was a speech by Scarlet Overkill, the Queen of Evil. As the Minions watched, they decided that Scarlet might be the perfect big boss they had been searching for, so they made plans to attend the Villain Con event. They tried to ask dogs and little kids for directions to Villain Con, but nobody knew where it was. Finally, they saw a man holding a sign that read New York, and decided to follow him. However, when they tried to hitchhike, no one stopped for them. Desperate, Kevin wrote their destination on a board and stood in the middle of the road. Just then, a family in a car stopped and offered them a ride. The family, who appeared normal at first, soon donned masks and revealed themselves to be a group of criminals planning a heist at the city's bank. The Minions were thrilled to be part of the action. During the heist, Kevin and the others accidentally fired a rocket launcher, causing chaos and flooding the streets. The police got stuck in the water, and the Minions and the family made their escape. The mother in the car asked where the Minions were headed, and when they told her about Villain Con, she said they were going there too. Back in the ice cave, the other Minions were bored and restless. One of them yelled, "Big Boss! Big Boss!" and just then, a group of Yetis arrived, taking over the cave. The Minions immediately made the Yeti their new big boss. Meanwhile, Kevin, Stuart, and Bob arrived at Villain Con and began searching for Scarlet Overkill. The convention was filled with evil masterminds and criminals from all over the world. When Scarlet made her dramatic entrance on a rocket, everyone cheered. She gave a speech, saying that people had told her she could never be the most evil villain, but she had proven them wrong. Now, she announced that anyone who could steal her special jewel would become her assistant. Everyone at the event tried to steal the jewel, but none succeeded. Bob, thinking it was his toy doll, accidentally swallowed it, causing Scarlet to declare that the minions were now her assistants. She took them to her lair, and Kevin quickly informed the other minions back in the cave about their success. When one of the minions says, "We don't need another big boss," after playing a large horn, thinking it would please the Yeti, a block of ice from above crashes down on the Yeti's head, killing him instantly. The other Yetis get angry and begin to kick the minions out of the cave. Meanwhile, at Scarlet's house, we meet her close associate, Herc, and see the vast collection of treasures she's stolen over time. Scarlet then reveals her plan, to steal Queen Elizabeth's crown. She assures the minions that they will get everything they desire after completing this task. The minions eagerly agree, asking if they will indeed receive what they were promised. Scarlet provides them with gadgets for the heist. Bob receives a device that allows him to stretch his arms and legs, Kevin is given a gun that can withstand lava, and Stuart gets a hypnotizing hat. As they head off to carry out the mission, the rest of the minions, not knowing where they are going, wander aimlessly and run into trouble with snow wolves. After a narrow escape, they think they're safe, only to encounter another wolf later on. Back at the palace, the three minions arrive to steal the crown. However, since they are unaccompanied by an adult, they are denied entry. Disguising themselves as grown-ups, they bribe a guard with a gold coin and manage to get tickets. Once inside, they change into new outfits and begin their search for the crown. Just as they are about to reach it, palace guards capture them. Stuart uses his hypnotizing hat to control three guards, who then join the minions in a dance. In the midst of the chaos, the minions make their way to the upper chamber where the crown is kept. Kevin uses his lava gun to melt the iron door, allowing them to get inside. However, there is an old, blind guard standing by. Despite the minions' attempts to hypnotize him, it fails because he cannot see. The guard, guided by the sound, discovers the minions' location and tries to attack them. As the struggle continues, Kevin's lava gun explodes, and the crown begins to fall from its platform. The minions scramble to retrieve it, but a group of guards swoops in and hands the crown back to the queen. The minions pursue the queen, with Bob using his extendable limbs to chase after her. The queen's guards give chase, but Kevin manages to jump onto her carriage and hijack it. Bob, still running with his stretched arms and legs, manages to escape the police by cleverly maneuvering around obstacles. Meanwhile, Stuart fights the queen inside the carriage over the crown. Just as the carriage is about to fall into the water, Bob arrives in time to grab it with his extended arms, saving everyone. However, upon reaching a park, the police apprehend them. In a last-ditch effort, Bob grabs a sword from a nearby stone and raises it, which causes white doves to fly around him. Seeing this, the police officers kneel before him. It turns out that the sword is a famous one, and because Bob pulled it from the stone, he is now declared the king of the country. When Scarlet sees the news, she becomes furious. Meanwhile, the other minions, thinking they've arrived in England, end up in Australia. They have a little fun with some kangaroos and eventually head to India. After dancing with locals there and wandering the world aimlessly, they finally return to the palace, where Bob is now living in fear. In an attempt to cope, Bob alters everything around him to suit the minions' tastes. Now living as kings, they enjoy their new status, riding on the backs of dogs instead of horses and playing hockey. The servants, who are supposed to be serving them, end up pampering them excessively. At this moment, Scarlet returns, accusing them of tricking her and stealing her crown. The minions, terrified, immediately hand over the crown and sword. But just as one of the guards protests, saying that it's not legally possible, Scarlet mockingly says, "Oh, is that so?" and then takes the crown legally. After reclaiming the throne, Scarlet thanks the minions for not only stealing the crown of England but also her heart. Kevin, however, realizes that they are not the only ones in danger and shows Scarlet a collection of photos of other minions. Pretending to agree, Scarlet lures the minions into a trap, locking them up in a secluded place. Laughing, she says, "You fell for my story, didn't you?" As they look around, they realize that Herb is there too. Kevin speaks to him, but Herb denies being involved and then begins subjecting them to various tortures. However, none of the punishments work as intended. One attempt to hang them turns into a joke, prompting Herb to start playing games with them instead. Scarlet then returns and tries to maintain her tough image but accidentally reveals her true identity, admitting that she tricked them. Meanwhile, the minions spot an opportunity to escape through a drainage tunnel. They dive into it, only to end up falling straight into a funeral home. Bob, ever the polite one, picks up a bouquet of flowers from the ground, planning to give it to Scarlet as an apology. On the other side, Scarlet comes to the palace to take the crown. Meanwhile, a gang of dangerous criminals from the underworld arrive to see her. At the same time, the minions also reach the palace. However, since the door is locked, they start climbing the walls of the palace. During this, a bee flies in from behind the flower garland that Bob was holding, scaring both of them. They jump onto a nearby light and start running in circles. As a result, the light fixture loosens and falls directly on Scarlet's head. But nothing happens to Scarlet. She screams loudly and orders the others to catch the three of them. So, all the criminals there start chasing the minions. No matter where they hide, the bad guys are everywhere. In the end, these criminals manage to capture Stuart and Bob. However, Kevin escapes by running into a nearby restaurant, where he notices the queen who lost her crown is also there. By now, the other minions have somehow arrived in England as well. Kevin, determined to save his friends, says, "I must save my friends no matter what." He heads to Scarlet's house to gather some weapons. As he is collecting them, some of the bad guys come looking for him. Kevin goes inside a half-built machine, and despite warnings saying, "Do not switch on," he turns it on. He also presses a button marked, "Do not press," and pulls a lever that says, "Do not pull." When nothing happens, he says, "Good thing nothing happened, right?" But then, he presses another switch that says, "Do not inflate." As a result, the machine powers on, and Kevin transforms into a giant. Meanwhile, Scarlet surrounds the minions with dynamite. At this moment, Kevin arrives. As he walks, everything around him starts shaking because he has become so enormous. He saves Bob and Stuart just as the dynamite begins to explode. But no matter how big Kevin gets, the fire doesn't stop. Just when they think the danger is over, Scarlet flies in and attacks Kevin with a lava gun. Meanwhile, the other minions are at a hotel, enjoying their meal. As soon as they see Kevin, they run after him, except for one minion who continues eating amidst the chaos. Scarlet beats Kevin badly, and as she is about to attack the other minions, Kevin, enraged, hits her so hard that it breaks several buildings. Despite the chaos, one person nearby is casually reading a newspaper, completely unaware of what's happening. As the minions start feeling relieved, Scarlet isn't done yet. She fires a massive lava rocket at Kevin. But Kevin, determined to save everyone, swallows the lava rocket. As Scarlet tries to escape, Kevin catches her. However, the rocket is so powerful that it blasts both Kevin and the others into the sky, causing a massive explosion. The minions are devastated, thinking, "Poor Kevin, he sacrificed himself to save us, and now he's gone." But to their surprise, Kevin is perfectly fine. He shrinks back to his normal size and, still wearing his oversized pants, returns to the minions. In the end, the queen thanks them for their bravery and gives Bob a small crown and Stuart a guitar as gifts. Stuart, overjoyed, starts playing the guitar loudly and eventually smashes it on the ground. Just when they think everything is resolved, the queen's crown goes missing again. It turns out Scarlet has taken it and is trying to escape. But a young boy named Gru arrives and freezes both of them, taking the crown back. Seeing this, the minions immediately declare, "This is our big boss," and they all join Gru. What the minions will do with Gru next is something we'll have to find out in future episodes. That's all for today. Have a great day.